He is the NFL Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Alan Sills, back on the program. Doc, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dan. Thanks for having me back.
Is the NFL player safer in the bubble or in camp than the average citizen is?
I would say yes, Dan, because I think when we're in our camps and our facilities, we obviously have extensive protocols that cover every aspect of what we're doing. So we've put a tremendous amount of thought and energy and effort, as you know, together with the Players Association in creating the safest possible environment. So I think when you combine our screening, our testing program, all the interventions we put in place at our facilities, the way we've reimagined the day, I would say yes, people are much safer in that environment than they would be out working out in some other environment.
What has changed since the last time we talked?
Well, I think we continue to learn from the experience of other sports and just where the virus is going in general. You know, we've seen, for example, the CDC change some of their guidance about how we clear people and bring them back. We've learned more about persistent positive tests and how people can test positive for a very long time. So we're learning literally every day and certainly every week. But I think what hasn't changed is, you know, our commitment to being very, very diligent in every aspect of what we do. And I think there's also an increasing recognition on the part of all of our players, coaches, and staff. This is something we're going to have to do every single day. We got to be consistent, and we can't let our guard down, because as soon as we let our guard down, that's when bad things can happen to us as individuals and to teams and to the league as a whole.
What sport have you learned the most from?
Boy, that's a tough one. You know what, we've learned from everybody, I think, because we've been in contact not just with North American sports, but around the world. We've talked a lot with Australian football, with World Rugby, with the Bundesliga, with the English Premier League. So I think everyone has contributed to our knowledge. And certainly I continue to communicate regularly with my colleagues in the NHL and Major League Baseball and the NBA and MLS. And I got to say, Dan, probably one of the gratifying things about this is you look at silver linings. It's been the level of cooperation and collaboration among all the leagues, because this isn't, you know, one team against the other or one league against the other. This is all of us against this virus. And so we've had more communication and collaboration than we've ever had, which has been, I think, a very positive thing and something that'll make us all better.
I know that you have to look at what-if scenarios, and I always start with the worst-case scenario and then work my way back. Let's say you have an outbreak like the Miami Marlins had. What is protocol?
Well, we look at those cases very carefully. We look at it together with the Players Association, with our infectious disease advisors, and we take whatever the safest steps are. So, you know, we've said that all options are on the table, including missing games or more than one game if necessary. But I think what you have to look at is each case is unique. It depends on how many people are infected, the time course, a lot of factors about that host city. So it's hard to give you an algorithm and say, well, it's this number or this number. But clearly we recognize that we're going to have to be flexible and adaptable throughout the whole season. And we'll have to respond to these challenges as we come up. And whatever we do, we're going to make the best decision that's in the interest of safety of everyone involved, players, coaches, staff, and our fans as well.
What troubled me with the Marlins situation, Doctor, is that you had the team voting on playing a game on Sunday after 4 players had tested positive. So they had a team member, a player making this decision. And I'm wondering about with the NFL, can you have a neutral party or somebody who's not with the organization who reports to you who's able to make these calls if a situation like that arises?
Yeah, well, I can't obviously speak to the specifics of that situation, Dan, but I would just say what we envision is if we had a situation arising with positive test results, obviously that gets immediately reported to the league, to the Players Association, and that would be a league determination. So again, I and my staff, conjunction with the Players Association medical staff, our infectious disease experts, we put all our heads together and make what we think is the best decision in real time.
Any changes in the equipment? You talked about a face mask shield last time we talked. Where do we stand on that?
Yeah, we're still evolving that. So we're to the level now where players are back in camp and they can actually use it. And so we've distributed those across all our clubs. We're going to have players using them actively and giving feedback to the design engineers. And so I think you'll continue to see that product evolve and change. And we'll get to, subsequent versions of it. So we're still very excited about the idea. We think it will have a place on the field. And so we'll see as players use it more as they're getting into their camps. We're excited to kind of see where that whole project goes.
What about wearing a mask as we have to do in everyday life? Can a football player perform while wearing a mask, or do you have modifications to that mask for players?
Yeah, again, we've worked on a lot of different designs. There's sort of the neck gaiter type design that you can pull up, that you've seen some people use as a face covering. I mean, we've had some players that have worn those in the league over the past few years, if you've seen that, in the pre-COVID era. So I think you'll see some players wearing that. There are obviously other mask options. And at the end of the day, again, I think you're going to see players adapt a lot of these different tools to increase their margin of safety. Certainly, you're going to see everybody else in and around the sideline, game officials. And at every time someone's not on the field performing, they're going to be in masks, because I think we've all learned one thing: masks work. They are absolutely key, and they're very essential to preventing transmission of this disease. So really, it's not an exaggeration to say the more time we spend in masks and the more people we get in masks, the better off we're all going to be.
But there's no mandate to have mask on players when they're practicing or in games.
We haven't reached that point of agreement yet with the players union. I think we'll see where this design takes us. And if we can get to a design we all feel comfortable, we might revisit that idea. But as of today, no, there's no mandate there.
Does the NFL want that?
Dan, I'm looking at everything that makes us safer. So I would certainly hope that we arrive at a design that offers protection and doesn't hinder performance. And I think if we do that, it would certainly be something I'd want to see everyone adopt. And I think if we can hit that sweet spot, if we can find something that does offer protection and does not hinder the way that guys breathe or communicate on the field, I have to believe that players would buy into that, and they would want that, because at the end of the day, they want to be safe as well. And if we can do that in a way that doesn't hinder their performance, I believe it's something they'll all want to be a part of.
What team do you root for?
That's a loaded question. I always say, Dan, it's a little bit like your children. You love all your children. Some are easier to love than others, but no favorites. I'm just grateful to have the chance to work with all of them, and really appreciative. And let me say this, all kidding aside, the amount of work that our teams have put into getting ready and opening these training camps, it's just phenomenal. We've seen every level of the staff just completely reimagine and redo their facilities. And I've talked one-on-one. I talk with head coaches every day. I mean, these are obviously people who are not usually wanting to change things. They've gone in and completely changed everything about their building and about the way they practice. So I just tip my hat to the work that's gone on. And we know there's a lot more work in front of us. It's going to be really hard, but I'm excited to see where this takes us.
Thank you, Doc. Maybe privately you'll tell me who is your favorite football team.
Hey, I can give you a college team. How about that? Will we go there?
Sure, why not?
Well, you can see behind me, I'm a Mississippi State grad, so I'm a Bulldog through and through. We'll go with that as my favorite team.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Doc. We appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dan. Have a great day.
That's Dr. Alan Sills, the NFL Chief Medical Officer and Neurosurgeon.